Hi, and welcome to the Community Talks podcast. My name is Emmet Cummins. This podcast will explore the Community Building Programme, a partnership between Douglas College and Envision Financial that provides support to local non-profit organisations and pairs them with marketing students from Douglas College. Each episode will be produced and hosted by a different group of students and will feature guests from the current partners of the Community Building Programme. We'll be starting off this series with a discussion about the importance of community and our contribution to society, as well as a celebration of the Community Building Programme with one of its key founders, Susan Byrom of Envision Financial. It'll be hosted by yours truly and my co-host Kevin. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Community Talks podcast. My name is Emmet Cummins. I'm your host, and we have Kevin Podgorny here. So we have Susan Byrom from Envision Financial, and she is the head of the Community Building Program. Welcome to the show, Susan.
It's nice to be here today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So, Susan, could you just tell us a bit about the Community Building Program and how you started it?
Absolutely. So I have to take you back about, almost 18 years. We first started working with Douglas College in 2005. And so Envision Financial at that time was building some of our marketing strategies for the Coquitlam region. And we came to be fast friends with the Douglas College Foundation. And over the course of the next 6 years, we worked together on a community initiative called Light the Lake. And it was a family-friendly winter festival that kicked off the holiday season. And, it was a great initiative. And over that 6 years as well, the Envision Financial Endowment was established with the Douglas College Foundation. So we created not only a community initiative, but we created a legacy endowment for students of Douglas College for their bursary needs as they continue their education. So something we were all very proud of as we moved through the 6 years. But as we came upon 2010, some of the things were changing for us as an organization, and certainly events start to change, and we thought it was time to maybe close that chapter of our partnership. Right. But we didn't want to lose our relationship. And so one of the things that we often see in community and the work that we do at Envision Financial is we build relationships in our community. And ours was a strong one with Douglas College, didn't want to lose it. So we sat together for 2 years and said, what can we do next? What does Chapter 2 look like? And the Community Building Program was Chapter 2. And we launched in the first semester of 2012. And now here we are today in 2023 and getting ready to close this chapter. So it's been an exciting journey. It's been a wonderful partnership. There's so many things to talk about.
Yeah, and do you mind if I asked why it's ending?
I think we've come to this place where we've supported well over 200 students in the community. We've had 35 unique organizations been supported. And there comes a time when we have to revisit what is the impact we're having, what are the new opportunities that we might be missing. And 12 years of a program is significant. And so again, we're at this crossroads where we won't lose our relationship, but our relationship will grow and or change. And so maybe we'll be talking about Chapter 3 in another 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's natural for all these things to develop and to change over time, and for it to, hopefully turn into something new.
You never know. I think one of the things when we think about partnership and the relationship that Envision Financial has developed and really grown into with our friends at Douglas College is an open conversation. We have open conversations about where we are today, what's coming for tomorrow, and those are that's the benefit of a long-term partnership as well.
Yeah, I think it's crucial to have that kind of open dialogue, because when you've got that kind of honesty, it allows more effective community building to happen. You can't, when there's no barriers between the two of you.
Absolutely. Being able to sit around the table and throw ideas out, from 2010 to 2012, we met many times around the table, and we started talking about what would chapter 2 look like. And there was a few stops and starts. We thought at one time we might go into, sort of what would investments look like? How could we leverage the academics to talk about investments in the community? What might that be? And, so you have chance to innovate, you have chance to collaborate. And ultimately, we wanted to build a program that helped to achieve student excellence and that had a benefit to the community at the same time. And that's how the community building program really started. Those two main factors.
So if you don't mind me asking, how did you guys come up with this chapter 2? Like, what was the why? How did you decide on it in these meetings?
I think it's really being able to just throw ideas at the wall. Ultimately, we wanted to really make sure that the academics of our students, that those were going to be able to be met. And I think the program has really showed itself to be a platform or a pathway to achieving that excellence. And so that was fundamentally had to be one of the criteria. How could students lend their expertise, and then to what? And so when we think about community, we think about the work that we do at the credit union. We want to make a difference in our communities. And so what better way than to put those two together?
Of course.
Douglas College already had a program very similar to this that continues today as well. But what we did is we were able to bring a layer of funding into the college to support the communities where Envision Financial operates. And so we were able to leverage the relationships that we have and maybe bring organizations into the fold of this program and the support of Douglas College and the students that might not have had an opportunity before. But it's been a wonderful opportunity for so many organizations, and certainly for us as an organization as well.
I can imagine. I mean, from our perspective, I'm not sure about you, Kev, but I hadn't heard of most of these organizations before I started doing the community building program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's sort of one of the byproducts of the program, and not only our program, but the work that you're doing at Douglas College is, I've been inspired by so many of the students who they are assigned and or select their charity of choice that they're going to be working with in this semester. And at times that can be daunting. You may not know the organization. It may be an organization that's dealing with a social issue that is unfamiliar to us as individuals. And so there's a barrier there to work towards. And so I've been so inspired by our students who really lean into the program. Students will go and volunteer with the charities that they're working with, and looking at how can they operationalize some marketing strategies, and they'll actually go and work alongside those in the organization as well. So it takes them outside of the classroom and into the community, and exposes us to the social sector that we may not have happened before without this type of a program.
Well, on that topic, I also heard that you like to walk the walk, as someone once said. So can you explain how you help in the community and help these organizations?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I think there's certain things I've done in the community, and I've certainly volunteered in the community. One of our partners who is going to be in this podcast series is an organization that I've volunteered with. I've sat on the board. and help to steward some of the decisioning of that organization. Anytime that you can give something of yourself to someone else, I think that's a volunteer activity. And we've seen volunteerism change so much in the last several years. Not as many people may be going into an organization. And so one of the things that I like to do is I like to knit. And so when the pandemic came, we started a knitting club. We called it the Blanket Buddies. And and so we knit blankets for toddlers and infants in a young parent program. And so, I'm able to do something that brings me a lot of joy, and I take that and then I hand it over to a young child. And that's what volunteering is all about, is doing something that brings you joy and has a positive impact on somebody else.
I think that's a kind of an underspoken about aspect of volunteering, is the kind of the fact that it feels good to help.
Absolutely. And it looks different for everybody. I think that's one of the things that as leaders in the community and as we, go around our business, everybody is different and everybody has a unique gift to offer the community. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we forget that we all have a unique gift, and it can be as easy as knitting a baby blanket, and you make a difference that way.
So you said you've been doing this for about 12 years, and before that you've been doing it since 2006. You must have built up some relationships over that time, some pretty significant relationships. I was wondering if you could tell me some highlights of some of the people you met, or some really inspiring stories.
Yeah, well, I'm going to feel terrible if I miss somebody,
Okay.
but I'll capsulize it in just the relationship with Douglas College.
Right.
Over the 18 years, we've had several leaders in Douglas College work alongside of us, and we know that our two esteemed colleagues, Shannon and Kimberly, are with us today. And when we first started this program, we had several other individuals who were leaders in the organization and who worked with us. And every single member of the faculty, of the administration of Douglas College that we have partnered with, that I have had the pleasure of working alongside, has really touched me. And their relationships that we still have, we're able to send a quick note and have a hello, but it really shows the strength of the relationships, the strength of individuals, and, the power of connection. So we have had great leadership with this program. We've had the candidness that we're able to have conversations with really illustrate how strong the partnership has been, and that it's continued even as our leaders have moved on to other areas of their life and started new chapters, that this program has continued to grow and evolve. I think it speaks volume for the reputation and the stewardship that Douglas College has given to the program as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. And from a personal perspective as well, you've created these long-lasting relationships that you can kind of call back to later on. And there's a lot of I imagine there was a lot of people that you met that have some kind of inspiring stories as to why they volunteered, or their reasoning behind it. I know later on in the series we're going to be interviewing people from Umoja and Langley's Meals on Wheels, and as an immigrant myself, and a lot of the students in the marketing practicum are immigrants, that it's kind of a subject that's very close to home. Yes, absolutely. And,
I think that's, if we look back at the breadth of organizations that have come into this program, our very first, this is a story that we always all tell, but our very first partner is joining us in this series this semester, was the Surrey Food Bank. The partnership that the students worked with that organization was all around their volunteer program. The Surrey Food Bank today, so 12 years later, is still using the resources that our student-led team designed
Oh, wow.
back in 2012. And so again, the work that our students are doing is timely. It's what's needed today, and it makes sense for the organization. And those are the factors that have to drive this type of programming. Yeah. This has never been a program where we say to our students, if you had $1 million, what kind of marketing strategy could you design for this organization? It has to be real. And it has to make sense for the organization, because we ask a lot of our charitable partners for this program. And so anytime that we are bringing a charitable partner into this program, we're asking them to stop doing what they do best.
Of course.
And it's our intention that our students, with their expertise, are giving back what they need in order to go to their next step.
Yeah.
And so it's this reciprocity of giving of our time, giving of our expertise. And when you can see results that are still being used today because of the innovation, because of the fresh thought, new perspective that's brought to our partners, I think there's a win-win-win. There's no downside to that.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a win-win situation, because us, the students, we're paying for this to learn for our future jobs. But not only that, the nonprofit organizations also benefit from this, from our help. And that's actually really nice to hear.
So again, it's this circle of giving, but their expertise and your expertise came together to create a good thing.
And it's a mutually beneficial relationship as well. Like you said, the students get real world experience on top of developing a kind of this marketing plan that they can take forward in the future and put it in their portfolio, as well as actually being able to volunteer and contribute to society using the skills that they learn.
Absolutely. And it's all around fresh perspective as well. And, the innovation that you as students are driving forward through your academia, and you bring that into the program, and then you operationalize it so that it's able to be implemented by the organization who's your partner.
And for people listening who aren't involved in Douglas College, or they don't have an investment in this, what would you say to convince them to volunteer in their community?
Gosh, nothing's better than making a difference for somebody else, because we never know when we as individuals may need a helping hand as well. I think volunteering is volunteer where your heart is, where your passion is. There's organizations who are looking for talented people. And I think we all have to remember that we all have a talent, and we're all unique. And there's someone out there waiting for us to say, how can I help? And that's always the question that we just need to ask. How can I help you? And they'll let you know the best way that we can help them. Because when we're helping them achieve their goals, then we will get that back as well. And we will feel that, rather than us going out to meet our goals. We want to meet their goals, and in turn, we will feel good about that.
On that topic, do you mind sharing your favorite experience from volunteering?
From volunteering?
Yes.
So here, up in the Okanagan, we've just come off a team building activity, I guess. So our team building activity right now is we bake cookies. Right. And so we get a team together, and we go into a commercial kitchen, and we're making cookies. We also make kindness cards. So simple to do. Sugar cookies. We ice them. We have some members of our team are very intricate with their icing techniques. And then we write a little card, and it's as simple as, a sweet treat for you from us. And then we deliver those. We delivered the most recent batch to senior residents at our local hospital. And so it's an opportunity for us as a team to get together and, we pull our hair back and we have some fun in the kitchen. And ultimately, we have something to deliver to someone else.
Yeah.
And these cookies and the little kindness notes, they make a difference. They make a difference for people.
I've noticed recently that there seems to be this push towards kind of small acts of kindness, because as you're saying, these small acts can change someone's day, can change someone's outlook. It can change how someone feels about themselves with just something like a kindness note. And I've seen a lot of this content recently, and it kind of these small things can be very inspiring.
Absolutely. We never know who we're standing beside in the grocery store, and we don't know their story. And because your arm or your leg isn't in a cast doesn't mean that your arm doesn't hurt. Mm-hmm. And so I try to remember that. And everybody has a story, and everybody has something that has touched them. And that on that one day, it may be just a little bit heavy. Mm-hmm. And so I think if we can all, to your point, if we can all be just a little more kinder, share a smile, give a wave, let somebody come in front of you when you're driving your car instead of honking the horn. it makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
And, when somebody comes in front of me and I've let them in and they give me a 4-way flash, I'm like,
nothing better.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I try to do the same and give somebody else a 4-way flash, and they may not get it, but that's okay. I get it. And it's easy, right? Even a smile to someone, a wave, a thank you. Those are easy to do. They don't cost us anything. But as you say, it makes the world to somebody else.
Actually, I was working last week, and this lady came in. She was an old German lady, and she asked me where something was. So I was walking along with her, chatting, and she was telling me she's 90 years old. She came over from Germany in the 1960s, I believe. And we just had a small conversation, just making some jokes, and I was asking her about her time. She was living in Calgary for 6 years. And then, I said goodbye. We had a nice chat, and she was smiling away. And about an hour later, I was by the cashier till, and someone came over to me with a phone. And it's my first week working there. So I thought maybe I was going to get fired. And it was this lady. She called me back. She called the store, asked for me, said, "Can I speak to the Irish boy?" Yeah. And she just said, "It was really nice talking to you. I'll be in there soon. I hope to see you again."
And how did you feel?
I felt great. I was smiling for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. And so while you were doing that engagement, you were doing your job, right? Mm-hmm. You were doing your job, showing a client where something was. But that interaction for her would have made her day, because maybe she lives alone. Maybe she's isolated during the day. Mm-hmm. Maybe she didn't have, a family member close by who regularly gives her a call. They're all stories that we don't know. And you filled a void for her on that day. Congratulations. And thank you.
I'm not trying to puff myself up. It was, it was no skin off my nose, but it felt good to know that, I might have brightened her day a bit.
Absolutely. And, most often that circle may not ever be closed. The fact that she reached out and tracked you down is wonderful, because now the next time that someone comes, you have this experience to draw on that, and the impact that you had on this woman. Most often, for many of us, those acts of kindness, we never see. Our team never sees the individual who receives the cookie and the kindness note. And that's okay, because that's what volunteering is. You give of yourself to somebody else without any expectation of a return. Yeah. And that's where the feeling comes from, because at the end of the day, you've done what you can. And so that you have that full circle is a wonderful testament to the power of a relationship, the power of using our voice, and the power of kindness all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you been volunteering on a personal level for however many years? Do you mind if I ask, has there been anyone that you've met that's really stuck out to you? Maybe they had a particularly fascinating story, or someone who was really inspiring to you? It's a bit of a reach back, but...
Sure. No, I have a colleague in the community, and I'll just say her name is Kay. We'll just say Kay. And I met Kay maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years ago now. And I met her through a community program. Mm-hmm. And I have been inspired by her ever since. Yeah. She has multiple barriers, several barriers that she navigates on a daily basis. Yeah. And through it all, she wants to give back to the community. And it reminds me, again, that we all have a story, and yet we all want to triumph in our own story. Yeah. And, so on days when we may ourselves be feeling a bit heavy, there's always someone who has a heavier load. And yet, even with a heavy load, every individual brings joy to someone. And I've learned that from Kay. And, and she continues to invest herself into the community. She will go out of her way to create community for other people. Yeah. And so I admire her greatly.
Yeah, I mean, she sounds like a strong person. It's not really easy to overcome, all these barriers, and let alone go out of your way to help other people while you're struggling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And many times she puts other people in front of herself. Mm. And so we have a fondness for one another, and do what we can to support one another. And I heard from her the other day, and we had a nice little chat.
So when you pick organizations to work with for the community building program, now this is kind of a question to help listeners to discern who they should support or where they should volunteer. How do you discern how sincere an organization is in their activities, and how can a listener figure out who to support and whether this organization is doing what they say they do?
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple of things. One is, I always say, start with what you're interested in. Start with what you're passionate about. So if you are passionate about seniors, about children, about animals, that's where you start, because that's where you're going to have the greatest connection. So always start with what you know and what brings you joy. Then look to your community, where you live. That there's popular sayings about where you live, and to make a difference in your community. And really, that brings it home for a volunteer. When you can volunteer in your community, that you are benefiting your village, if you will. Yeah. And then look at who's delivering the services that you're passionate about. And there's multiple, there's so many great organizations with great leaders, great volunteers. Some will need volunteers, and you know what? You may come across an organization and you love what they're doing and their mission, and they may say, you know what? We just don't have a need for volunteers because of the work we do is supporting children, persons with great barriers. And what I would say is, don't be discouraged by that. Make sure that organization knows that you're willing and able, and when there is a time, to reach out to you. So it's don't be disappointed the first time if you approach an organization and ask to volunteer and they say, we don't have anything for volunteers right now.
Yeah.
Look for the next organization in your community that is attached to your passion. You can, websites, social media, my goodness, if you're looking at social media and an organization hasn't updated any of their materials, if they haven't been active on any social media for more than a year, then you might want to think about doing a little more
Yeah.
research. It's a tool, right? There's so many things that are in the public space. What I would say a great opportunity is to look at an events page. And if you see the organization that you would like to support or learn more about, go to one of their events.
Okay.
Support them that way. If they're participating in a community festival, go down to the festival and walk around and talk to the volunteers that are there. And you'll know when you're able to talk to the individuals. Many organizations have a volunteer drop down on their websites. Take a look there. They'll tell you, what type of volunteer activities they may have as well. But supporting an organization with something that they are doing today is the best way to get involved. And it's the easiest entry point. You don't have to make a long commitment. Hey, I see you're hosting an event on Saturday. Do you need any volunteers? I'd love to come down. Hop on down and take a look, and you'll know soon enough.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty comprehensive breakdown. Thanks for that, because I think, a lot of people who are looking to volunteer, there might be that kind of initial trepidation on how they go about it and whether or not it's needed. And people don't like feeling like they're being rejected, and so it's nice to know that there's reasons for all these things.
Absolutely, and there's room for all different levels of volunteerism as well.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we think a volunteer is really that person who sits at the board table or a committee table. And that's not the case. You do not need to start there. Start with an event. Get to know the organization before you go further down the line with them. Just one little volunteer opportunity is a great way to get started, get to know somebody.
Yeah, just taking the first step.
Absolutely. We have to take one step forward in order to get anywhere. Yeah. And volunteering is the same way.
So now that the community building program is coming to an end, is there anything that you want to say to the community?
Yes, I would like to say thank you to the community. We are filled with gratitude for their partnership, their trust. When we think about 4 months, 16 weeks of support that is needed for the community building program for our students to be successful, it's a commitment that each of our community partners has made for this program. So I am filled with gratitude for each of the organizations, for their leaders and their board to provide us as a team to support them in the way that we have. And to all of our students, congratulations and thank you for the work that you today and those who have come before you have given into the community, because every interaction has a reaction. And there will be many more people in the community who will remember the time spent with our Douglas College students. And then finally, I would say thank you to Douglas College and thank you to Envision Financial for the partnership. It's been a pleasure for me to be part of this and to have spent as many years as we have together creating something that has really been so valuable. It's been an honor, and I'm gonna miss it. You're gonna make me cry, and that's probably why you did this.
Well, it's good content.
That's right.
Thanks for that, Susan. I'm sure they all appreciate your efforts, and it's had a massive impact on the community. I mean, you've been doing it for 13 years, and as the community building program comes to an end, I'm sure if people looking back on it can reflect on the amount of good that's been done.
Absolutely. It takes all of us. It
takes a village.
Yeah, it sure does. And Yeah, it wouldn't have been as successful had we not had all of those components come together. And that's what partnerships is, and that's what relationship brings. And we can all be very proud of the work that's been done over all of these years. Yeah.
So we just have one last question for you.
Sure.
At the end of every episode of this podcast series, we're going to get asked what's called the signature question. And so it's basically meant to kind of be a thought-provoking question. And so, do you feel that people do good generally for selfless reasons, or do you think there is an ulterior motive? And more importantly, does it matter?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think I appreciate the question, and I think at the end of the day, we all have to say, what is our intention?
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain things that we do because we see an opportunity that perhaps can benefit us. And volunteering, in all candor, can provide a lot of opportunity to grow and to learn, and to set ourselves up for the next big show. Yeah. And why wouldn't you take that opportunity? And I think if you go through that route, if you see an opportunity to volunteer, and it has the potential to grow your knowledge, to give you a new skill, that's a good thing.
Of course.
And as long as when you're there and you're growing as an individual, that you're sharing that back with the organization that's supporting your growth. I think that's the twist. Yeah. And so I think that there's things that we all do as simple as saying hello and thank you. You give that away for free. And then I think there's the other pieces of the work that we do bring it back. We bring it back into our homes, and we bring it back into our families and our work environment. And I think it's being open, being honest, and working hard for the sector. And so when you're out there volunteering, work hard because they're relying on you. Those organizations are relying on you to work hard while you're there.
Well, brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Susan. We're going to bring it to a close now. And we really want to thank you and Envision Financial for supporting the community building program. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It was a beautiful chat.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and just to all the listeners, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and make sure to check us out on the next episode. Thanks for listening to Community Talks. This episode was produced by Three Continents Production. If you'd like to learn more about the community building program, please consider checking out our social media. For links to our socials and more information, check out the show notes below. And if you like this episode, consider dropping us a like and sharing with friends. See you on the next one.